Do you believe in what you can't see, in the things that go bump in the night, not in your imagination, but in the cold, hard light of day? This is True Scary Stories, your portal to the most unsettling, inexplicable, and undeniably real encounters ever reported. We're not here to entertain with made-up monsters, but to share the raw, unfiltered accounts of people just like you, whose lives were forever scarred by something truly horrific. Each story is a chilling fragment of truth, a glimpse into the bizarre and the terrifying that defies explanation. If you have the courage to confront the true face of fear, to hear the echoes of terror that resonate from real events, then you're in the right place. Lock your doors, turn off the lights if you dare, and prepare to question everything. The truth can be far more terrifying than any nightmare. They say the old Blackwood Mill was haunted long before the disappearances started. Locals whispered stories of strange lights flickering in the empty windows and the mournful groan of machinery with no power. For years, it was just a spooky landmark on the edge of town, a place teenagers dared each other to visit. Then people started vanishing, just gone. No trace, no witnesses, just an empty space where they used to be. That's where my story begins, with me stepping through the rusted gates of Blackwood Mill, foolishly chasing a ghost story for my failing paranormal podcast. The air inside the mill was thick with the smell of decay and damp wood. Sunlight struggled to pierce the grime-coated windows, casting long, skeletal shadows that danced with the dust motes. It was colder inside than it had any right to be, a bone-chilling dampness that seeped into my clothes. My flashlight beam cut through the gloom, illuminating rusting gears frozen mid-turn and belts hanging limp like forgotten ropes. I'd read the old newspaper articles, the increasingly panicked reports of missing loggers, mill workers, even a couple of curious kids. The police had investigated, of course, but found nothing. Blackwood Mill seemed to swallow people whole. I told myself it was just local folklore, mass hysteria fueled by a few tragic accidents. But as I ventured deeper into the silent heart of the mill, a prickling unease began to crawl up my spine. In the main processing room, the massive saw blades stood like silent sentinels. The floor was littered with sawdust, petrified with age. My footsteps echoed eerily in the vast space. That's when I heard it. A faint scraping sound, like something being dragged across the concrete floor in the room above. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The sound came again, closer this time. There was no wind, the windows were sealed shut. Whatever was making that noise was inside the mill with me. Heart pounding, I slowly climbed the creaking wooden stairs to the second floor. The air grew heavier here, and the metallic tang of old blood seemed to hang in the air, though I knew that was impossible. The scraping sound continued, now accompanied by a low, guttural humming. It was coming from the foreman's office at the end of the hall. The door was ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning. I pushed it open slowly, my flashlight beam sweeping across the room. It was empty. Just a dusty desk, a broken chair, and cobwebs thick as shrouds. The scraping sound had stopped, but the humming was louder now, seemingly coming from within the walls themselves. Then I saw it. Scrawled on the far wall, in what looked like dried blood, were symbols. Not letters, but strange, twisting shapes that seemed to writhe in the beam of my flashlight. As I stared at them, the humming intensified, vibrating in my chest. A wave of dizziness washed over me, and the symbols seemed to shift and swirl before my eyes. I stumbled back, a cold dread gripping my soul. This wasn't just a ghost story. This was something far darker. I had to get out. I turned and fled, my footsteps echoing wildly as I raced back down the stairs. The scraping sound started again, this time right behind me, closer than before. I could almost feel a cold breath on my neck. I didn't look back, I just ran, driven by a primal fear I had never known. I burst out of the mill into the fading sunlight, gasping for breath. I didn't stop running until I reached my car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. As I drove away, I glanced back at Blackwood Mill. In one of the upper windows, I saw a flicker of light, and for a fleeting moment I thought I saw a figure standing there, watching me. I never went back to Blackwood Mill. I deleted the audio recordings I had made, desperate to erase the experience from my mind. But the memory of the humming, the scraping, and those terrifying symbols is etched into my nightmares. They say Blackwood Mill claimed many lives, and sometimes, late at night, I wonder if it almost claimed mine too. And I can't help but think about all those who vanished without a trace, swallowed by the darkness within those decaying walls. What did they see? What did they hear? And what unholy thing still lingers there, waiting for its next victim? Some stories I've learned are best left untold, some places best left untouched. Blackwood Mill is one of those places, and I pray no one else ever dares to step inside. Don't let the darkness take hold just yet. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you're always updated when a new, terrifying, true story emerges. The endless lockdown had us all climbing the walls. It was early spring, and the novelty of binge-watching everything on offer had long worn off. I was spending my evenings like most other single guys, swiping through dating apps, half-heartedly chatting with strangers while some true crime documentary droned on in the background. That's how I met Chloe. She lived a few towns over in upstate New York, not far from the old abandoned quarry, which was actually a pretty popular spot for local urban explorers. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared boredom and a mutual love for exploring creepy, desolate places. Chloe had this edgy, thrill-seeking energy about her, always pushing the limits. After a few nights of texting, we decided to meet up. It was a Tuesday, dreary and cold, perfect for a little mischief. I picked her up and we drove to the quarry, sneaking past the rusted "No Trespassing" signs. We explored the crumbling buildings, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. It was exhilarating, the kind of rush you craved when the world felt so small. As dusk settled, casting long, unsettling shadows, Chloe suggested we try something bolder. My friend told me about this old, supposedly haunted house, deep in the woods near the quarry, she whispered, her eyes gleaming. No one's lived there for decades. It's supposed to be really messed up. My heart thumped. This was exactly what I was looking for. A real adventure. We drove deeper into the winding, unpaved roads, the trees pressing in around us, swallowing the last of the fading light. The house, when we finally found it, was even more imposing than I'd imagined. It was a skeletal silhouette against the bruised sky, its windows like vacant eyes staring out from a forgotten dream. A chill, not just from the evening air, ran down my spine. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, a tremor in my voice. Chloe just grinned. "Come on, live a little." We left the car a little ways down the overgrown driveway, plunging into the inky blackness, relying on our phone flashlights. The front door was ajar, creaking open with a low moan as we pushed it further. Inside, the air was cold and stagnant, heavy with the scent of dust and something else, something metallic and faintly sweet, like old blood. Every floorboard groaned under our weight, each creak echoing through the silence. Dust motes danced in the weak beams of our flashlights. We moved through the empty rooms, the furniture long gone, leaving ghostly imprints on the grimy floors. In what must have been the living room, a broken rocking chair swayed almost imperceptibly in the center of the room. I nudged it with my foot, and it began to rock with a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if an invisible presence had just settled into it. "Did you hear that?" Chloe whispered, her voice barely audible. I nodded, my throat suddenly dry. A faint, almost imperceptible scratching sound seemed to be coming from upstairs. We exchanged a glance, a mix of fear and excitement. This was it, the real deal. Slowly, carefully, we ascended the grand staircase. The banister was slick with grime, and each step groaned louder than the last. The scratching grew more distinct now, a rhythmic scraping sound like fingernails on wood coming from the end of the long, dark hallway upstairs. Maybe it's just an animal, I tried to reassure myself, though my racing heart told a different story. As we neared the end of the hallway, the scratching stopped. A new sound replaced it. A low, guttural moan, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of the house. Our flashlights, almost in sync, darted to the last door on the left. It was slightly ajar. Chloe pushed the door open with a tentative foot. The room was even darker than the others, and the air was thick with that metallic sweetness. Our lights cut through the gloom, revealing a child's crib in the corner, shrouded in a dusty sheet. As our light hit it, the sheet seemed to stir. Then we heard it clearly. A ragged, gasping breath, as if someone was struggling to inhale. And then a whisper, chilling and close. "Get out!" Chloe screamed, a sharp, piercing sound that ripped through the oppressive silence. We spun around, scrambling back down the hallway, tripping over our own feet in the darkness. The guttural moaning intensified behind us, a chorus of tormented sounds. We burst out the front door, gasping for air, not daring to look back. We ran blindly through the woods, the branches whipping at our faces, the sounds of the house echoing in our ears. We didn't stop until we reached the car, our lungs burning, our legs aching. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking so violently I could barely unlock the doors. We scrambled inside, slamming them shut and locking them. Just as I turned the ignition, a pale, distorted face appeared at the driver's side window, its eyes wide and vacant, its mouth open in a silent scream. It was there for only a split second, but it was enough. We both shrieked. I floored the accelerator, tearing out of the driveway, the tires spitting gravel. We drove in silence for a long time, the only sounds our ragged breaths. The adrenaline slowly faded, leaving behind a cold, lingering dread. We never spoke about what we saw, not really. We tried to rationalize it. Shadows, our imaginations, the old house playing tricks. But deep down, we knew. Something real, something ancient and malevolent, was lurking in those woods. And neither of us has dared to go back, even in broad daylight. My friend Caleb used to work for a communications contractor out of Fairbanks, Alaska. His job? Maintaining emergency signal towers deep in the wilderness, sometimes alone, sometimes with a partner. He told me this story in the winter of 2023. He didn't tell it like a ghost story. He told it like a confession. And he made me swear I'd never laugh or try to explain it away. This happened in November of 2019. He and another technician, Parker, were sent to a remote signal station called Black Ridge Hill, 60 miles from the nearest town, one road in. No cell service. Nothing around but trees, snow, and silence. There was a tall relay tower up there, nearly 200 feet of red and white steel, and a small two-bed cabin to live in while doing repairs. The signal had been glitching, dropping emergency frequencies without warning. So they were sent to fix it. The first 2 days were normal. Cold, quiet. They checked cables, tested the backup generator, and replaced some fried circuits. But on the third night, something changed. Caleb woke up around 1 a.m. There was a noise, a clicking sound. It was coming from the maintenance closet. He opened it, and the handheld radio, which had no batteries in it, was clicking. A steady, rhythmic pattern. 3 short clicks, 3 long, 3 short. SOS. He turned it off and went back to bed, but the air in the cabin had turned ice cold, like the heat had been sucked out of the room. The next night, it happened again. This time, the radio didn't click. It spoke. At exactly 3:14 a.m., a distorted voice came through the speakers. Dry, crackling, broken by static. It said, "You shouldn't be here." That frequency was a private channel, secure. Only emergency teams and government agencies could access it. They had no idea who or what was broadcasting. Then came the 4th night. The power went out at 2:06 a.m. No wind, no snowstorm, just complete blackout. They grabbed flashlights and went out to the generator. That's when they found the footprints, bare feet, in the snow, leading from the forest to the tower. But there were no prints going back. And the shape was all wrong. Too narrow, too long. The toes fused together, almost like flippers. They followed the trail to the base of the tower. And then, nothing. The prints just stopped. No jump marks, no climb, just gone. Parker started panicking. He wanted to call for pickup, but the road had iced over. They were stuck. And then came the 5th night. Caleb woke to find Parker standing at the window, not moving, whispering. But it wasn't his voice. It sounded like 2 voices, layered over each other. One deep and growling, the other high-pitched and scared. Caleb touched his shoulder. Parker screamed and collapsed. When he woke up, he didn't remember any of it. Later that night, the red warning lights on the signal tower stopped blinking. They turned solid, constant, unmoving. And then came the sound. A high-frequency pulse, so loud Caleb said it felt like his bones were shaking. And then it stopped, and something slammed into the front door. Not once, not fast, slow, heavy, wet, like a body hitting the wood over and over. He didn't open the door. He sat on the floor with a wrench in his hand and waited for sunrise. When the sun came up, Parker was gone. No sign of a struggle, no footprints, no broken windows. Just his radio headset, left in the center of the room, still powered on, still whispering static. Caleb searched for hours. Nothing. He called for a chopper and told them there had been a medical emergency. When they found him, Caleb was pale, dehydrated, and barely able to speak. They searched for Parker for 3 full days. No trace, no clothing, no tracks. Only one thing was found, another set of those strange footprints, leading away from the tower back into the woods. 2 weeks later, Caleb got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a cassette tape, just a single one. He played it, and on it was Parker's voice, crying, begging, saying, "Please, please don't take me back down there." And in the background, that same static, crackled whisper. "We told you not to come." Caleb burned the tape. He quit his job, left Alaska, moved across the country, and now he refuses to sleep with any radios in the room. He says, sometimes, just sometimes, he still hears it, the clicking, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, SOS.